Back on Inside Tennessee, let's move to medical marijuana. This is a story that we have tracked for a long time. The current governor-elect says, I don't like it. I don't like legalizing marijuana, and I'm not a big fan of medical marijuana. CBD oils, maybe. Where do you stand on that topic?
Well, when I was there before, we talked about me being there before, I was a co-sponsor on the medical marijuana bill. I thought it was a good bill. It was really laid out how it would be done, regulated, it applied to certain ailments and that sort of thing. It was a good start. And actually did a little segment at this TV station with pictures of my dad because he had MS and he had really bad trigeminal neuralgia, and he would have to take a really heavy dose of medication to not have that pain. They call it the suicide pain. It's so bad people really just want to end it.
That was opioid medication, wasn't it?
It was Neurontin. It's a nerve thing. But he would be totally knocked out, but he'd raise up in bed in pain. And I had friends in Colorado who had actually used marijuana, and it was effective. And I tried to broach that to my FBI dad. He was like, absolutely not having it. But I would sure like to know if that would have helped him, because seeing somebody in that kind of pain is so hard to imagine.
Dave, your position?
Medical marijuana, I'm not a physician, so I cannot tell you which policies, practices, and pain relief best be observed. But if there's something that looks like it's getting support from the medical community, then it has to be there.
Oh,
now we're speaking
medical marijuana, not recreational.
Right. Medical marijuana.
I think we're several years away, if ever, from recreational marijuana.
Because if you're going to ask me about medical marijuana, it's okay. If you're going to ask me about smoking, it's what's the health hazards in the state of Tennessee: obesity, inactivity, and smoking. I can't support smoking.
There are so many delivery methods, though, of
but the
marijuana.
Oils are different.
Right. You don't have to smoke medical marijuana to get its medicinal effect.
But oil wouldn't have helped my father.
Right. Would not have helped your father.
Would not.
Let me ask you all a question. I was involved in a healthcare roundtable this past week, and obesity was one of the topics that we talked about, because it is a problem in Tennessee. We're one of the worst states. And we talked about the lack of PE, that we don't have PE mandated anymore in our schools. And that is one of the problems. That's why we have some obesity in young children, in addition to too much sugar, and there are vending machines in schools and all that kind of thing. Is that on y'all's radar screen at all?
Certainly is.
Yeah.
I mean, is that something you might take a look at, is reinstituting PE particularly in lower school?
Gloria and I were in Knox County Education Association meeting sometime back, and that was one of the things that's brought up by Bill Dunn, that it's been so disjointed, this trying to get kids to exercise for 15 minutes so they get up from their desk, and by the time they get their coat on and get to the exercise
it's time to go back to the desk.
It's time to be back. So there's things that need to be done to get some exercise back into the school day.
Well, their exercise is basically their device that they hold in their hand. And they no longer go outside to play at home nor at school, and it has to be something that I would think needs to be addressed.
I think it does too. It needs to be addressed in our communities as well as our schools, because I remember listening to the Surgeon General a couple of years ago when he came to the health department, and it was talking just about connectedness, parks, sidewalks. And that was in relation to the opioid epidemic. But to hear him connect the dots of the physical health and all of these things just with sidewalks and more community parks and things like this was really interesting. And I think, what's going on in our urban wilderness is great, but definitely in our schools. And when you look at European schools, out of every hour, they take 15 minutes,
Well, I think everybody here on the show this morning has walked to school at some point in life, and very few kids do that now. And so let's switch into politics for just a moment. I want to talk about committees, because that's sort of where all the action and juice is in Nashville. Dave, what committees are you interested in, and what are you hearing you might get?
They ask us for a list of 3, and I'm not hearing anything about what I might get.
So what did you put on that?
I put local government on it because of my background with local government, and I also requested commerce and, utilities, business and utilities. And then the third one doesn't come to me right now. So, but I
Probably
think
ought to know just in case you get that call.
You might get that third one.
my very words to the probable Speaker of the House was to Mr. Cassidy, put me, you know my background, you put me where I can work. I want to work, so you put me where you think I best fit in.
I would
Gloria,
think state and local would be an obvious for you.
what did you request, and what are you hearing? Because you're in a little different position.
Well, I requested, there were two education committees now. So I requested the two education committees and the health committee. And when I was there before, we were told to choose 3, you'll get 2. You're guaranteed to get 2 of them. This time they're talking about maybe having 4 you might get 4 subs instead of a full committee or something like that. So I think Lynn Cassidy is going to switch it up a little bit. It may look different than before, so I don't know if that guarantee of 2 of those 3 is valid anymore or not.
And do you think that's something that is partisan, or do you think that that is something that is just a redesign, or
Well,
do we know yet?
So in freshman orientation, I don't know if you remember Lamberth saying that they always look at your background and try to place you by that.
Right.
When I was there before, they didn't look at my background because 25 years in education as a special ed teacher, and they did not put me on it.
Did not let you anywhere near education.
Not anywhere near it, and it's because I'm a public school person, and my I'm not going to support vouchers and charters, and so my background didn't matter, unfortunately.
Before we let you go, only about 30 seconds, but we talked a lot about money and its influence on politics, especially in this last election. How much influence do you think it is having on our election cycle, Gloria?
I think it's having a huge amount. I mean, when you look at the last 3 races that I've been, hundreds of thousands, I would say by now 1 million, came in from outside sources, DC money, into my races. Because it was at least 250 the first time, 600 to 700,000 in 16, no, in 18, I'm sorry. That would have been 16. And then this time, I really haven't done the calculations yet, or I haven't seen any of the calculations anywhere. No, that's just to the other side.
Other side.
Yeah.
But you also had outside money coming in.
A little bit this time, yes. Yes.
Dave Wright, how about you? Good or bad for our political system?
My situation is completely different in that I didn't ask for the first dollar, didn't solicit the first dollar outside Knox County. My treasurer did take anything that was mailed to him, I hope. It's just different where I was elected. I was running on my background or my 11 years, and I was successful.
But you had outside interest spending on you as well. Tennesseans for Student Success, I know, at least sent 1 mail piece for you.
There were actually 3 mail pieces. I mailed 1 mail piece, and then there were 3 others that were mailed.
Oh, okay, I just saw 1.
Yeah, there were 3 others that I didn't solicit. So.
Well, we appreciate the conversation. Best of luck to both of you. We'll check in with you throughout the session.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Back with our talk around right after this.